Last year, you stated that the two of you are the main reason why people follow women's basketball, not just one player. Do you think you'll be the next one a year later? The reporter didn't have time to complete his inquiry, but he didn't have to use two words to inform Ree that the WNBA's relationship with Caitlin Clark had deteriorated. Let me tell you about the big turn. Unquestionably, the WNBA has profited from record-breaking viewership, sold-out venues, and millions of new fans. But it is also indisputable that the league as a whole missed their great chance. Many in the league chose to disregard caution, doubt the hoopla, downplay her impact, and, worst of all, mock her followers rather than embrace the Caitlin Clark effect. Bless them. The WNBA didn't understand they couldn't figure it out until last year when they finally acquired a star. Although we don't want to overdo it, Caitlin Clark should always be included in every game. It made little sense to anyone looking on from the outside, and the Caitlin Clark effect is a danger rather than a gift. It was everything the WNBA had longed for. For decades, the mainstream breakthrough, the headlines, the buzz, the full venues, and the success of Michael Jordan. They were about to get real money, decent wages, and international exposure thanks to the players' moment and cultural breakthrough. But Caitlin Clark was setting the standard. This wasn't a celebration for many WNBA players, but rather a funeral, because Caitlin's death wasn't simply a story twist for some of them. It was the demise of a hope that they would be the ones to improve the league as a whole. Realizing that, in spite of years of being told that fans didn't care about the women's game, they did attend Caitlin's game was maybe the toughest pill to take. This is simply life. There are degrees to it. We have seen players and the media go through what appear to be stages of grief, denial, fury, and the like. And yes, Diana, there have been fatalities. It's incredible how everything comes together. So wait till you see it. Anyway, it's been gloomy, unsightly, and a negative image for the WNBA. But they're now completely aware of what's going to happen next, and there before we discuss what transpired. If you're ready, watch this video of the WNBA cave to Caitlin. We're rushing to go on the right side of history. Remember to subscribe. Let's take a little look back. Yes, I am both the reason and the sole reason we watch women's basketball. I want everyone to know that Caitlin Clark was already living rent-free in the minds of viewers at the conclusion of the previous season when she erupted. NBA venues sold out, viewership tripled, and jersey sales skyrocketed. And half of the WNBA had not even arrived yet, with fans lining up for hours to get tickets and scalpers asking playoff rates for regular season tickets. Every Fever game turned to become a must-see event. It's crazy to have 4 assists and 6 rebounds, but the jealousy started sooner. There was a generational buzz about Caitlin Clark when she stepped out wearing professional shoes. She had recently sold out every stadium she touched, led Iowa to consecutive national championship games, smashed the NCAA scoring records for both the men's and women's teams, and made layup-like logo threes. The WNBA draft followed, which was a coronation devoid of tension or shocks. Prior to A'ja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Breanna Stewart, and other true stars MVP champs, the league had seen several outstanding players, but none of them came with this kind of fanfare, which hurt some and set off the initial stage of grieving denial. It was unequivocal opposition, not merely suspicion. She was more than just a single choice. But things started to get weird when the camera flashed. The media started to cover it, and the sponsors started to line up. The old guard players, the media, and even executives moved in to minimize the fissures as soon as they were noticed before Caitlin even on the court. However, it is not all. When they get there, what will the league have planned for them? Look, reality is on the way. SVP, the old guard, would have had their chance if Caitlin had just shown up and failed, even if she had been only average. While college is college, the WNBA is a unique beast. The ladies who founded this league are not easily overtaken. Instead, the old guard would have been validated. The media's attention would have shifted, and the hoopla would have died down. She earned 2 from her first game. 1 million people often attend the WNBA game, with the highest viewership in almost 2 decades. Last season, when Clark thrashed 3 Sky players for 29 points and got tripped, we saw the second stage of the rage voting. At that moment, good Kennedy Carter scored 12 points off the bench. Jerseys flew off the stores, national broadcasts sold out, viewership soared. And she wasn't just meeting Dodd as players started taking liberties, hard screens, off-ball, hits, and needless contact. The league started to push back within the lines, whether on purpose or accidentally. The referees pocketed their whistles, which created a habit that made it possible for her to be struck. It was clear that no matter how many sneers or critiques she got from the media, Caitlyn's appeal would not go away. Damage control was the next phase. She was frustrated and started to wonder if she belonged, and if the hoopla would go away on its own. You could tell that they tried to physically stop it since she was exhausted. Injured and psychologically tired after game, but Caitlyn overcame it all. Instead of sobbing or giving up, she grew stronger and came back from the Olympic break playing the best basketball she had ever played. We're talking MVP-level play that shattered the assist record, helped the Fever win games, and earned her a spot on the first team. We went to stage 3 bargaining after she proved that the hype was real. In this stage, people try to make sense of the new reality by negotiating with themselves and others to try to explain everything in a way that allows them to maintain their lost status and pride control because, let's face it, many players when Caitlyn Clark swept the league and suddenly the attention was on her instead of the veterans. They lost their pride. What were they doing? They changed the narrative, which is just the way the race is portrayed in the media. Caitlyn Clark won the title of Athlete of the Year in Time magazine, which we read last night. Why wasn't the whole WNBA able to be shown on the cover? What I cannot argue with is the quantity of they knew better than to go straight after Caitlyn, since she was a white girl from the heartland of America, and it would backfire. Rather, they attacked the fans and pointed the finger at the media, saying Caitlyn had nothing to do with the enthusiasm and zeal of young girls who were flocking to watch her tiny girls with their parents. The issue was that her fans weren't really WNBA fans, and everyone else was favoring her. Even though Caitlyn Clark led the league in assists as a rookie, drew record-breaking crowds, and attracted more spectators than ever before, the narrative implied that if you loved her, it must have been due of her skin tone. But all of it was irrelevant since the story wasn't Talthal. Caitlyn is incredible, and I think she will have a great career in the WNBA. I will not be hushed about the other women who should have been featured before her arrival. Repeating the falsehood loudly enough and shouting it loud enough will ultimately get people to cease questioning it. This is the standard propaganda playbook. We now own a portion of the basketball world was wrong to think that the Caitlyn Clark effect would go away as a result of this story. One by one, veteran players started to line up to join the Indiana Fever. These were not ladies who were just happy to be on the team or in dire need of a job, but rather women with alternatives. Sydney Colson, Natasha Howard, and seasoned champs Dana Bonner. Not very long ago, media personalities like Cheryl Swoops portrayed Indiana as a destination that no one wanted to visit. Diana Taurasi even recently revived the old rumors. But Indy isn't just a destination. It's the destination. So that storyline fell apart. Not just because of the coach or the roster, but also because of Caitlyn Clark. All the women with rings wanted to play there. The WNBA will play its inaugural games at the United Center on Sunday, July 27th, while the Chicago Sky will meet the Indiana Fever at the UC on Saturday, June 7th. The games were first rescheduled for her, not for All-Stars, not for league satire, and not for playoff considerations. Teams who typically played in smaller gyms were suddenly unavailable to Caitlyn Clark. The broadcast schedule followed. with 41 of the Indiana Fever's 44 regular season games scheduled for national television. The networks weren't hedging their bets, rather, they were putting all of their money on one player, assuming that the Caitlin Clark program was worthy of primetime billing. This isn't just saturation of exposure. If Caitlin was coming to town, the demand was unavoidable. Thus, they had to reserve NBA venues. A 15,000-seat venue sold out for one of the exhibition games during the preseason. Fans paid hundreds of dollars to see Caitlin warm up, but there were no playoff rankings or stakes. The claimed average ticket price was $650, which is about $9. When multiplied by 15,000 attendees, the Caitlin Clark effect was therefore irrefutable. It was not marketing fluff or hype, but simply advanced math, money, and velocity. Their own teams weren't helping them, and reality hit many players in a new way. Instead, they were depending on Caitlin's promos, which were connected to the Fever's visit. And ticket sales only went up while she was in town. Recognized it. The sponsors recognized it, and the supporters surely recognized it. The players started to ask, yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we haven't. So if we have more eyes on the game, and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of Caitlin Clark is a problem, bro? I remember my rookie year and how I entered the league, and I think, dude, it was such a crazy transition for me to just understand what it's like to play. I believe we need to realize that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just makes things easier for everyone else. I don't think people realize how crazy that is to do in your first year, but that's another story. Kudos to Caitlin, bro. Despite everything, she was making crazy plays, but people were too preoccupied with the high 20s and logo threes. At the professional level, it's like this girl walks into the game as a rookie and says, I broke the record. For assists, has the coverage been perfect? Of course not. There are still snubs, double standards, and many voices that are more willing to criticize than to celebrate. But over time, the tone has changed in the same media outlets. She averaged 3-point attempts per game, which I completely understand because it was a lot of fun to watch. But I always said that she might be among the best point guards in the WNBA's history. Fans gathered outside Carver Hawkeye Arena to get ready and attend parties, marking the moment that sealed Caitlin Clark's homecoming. The players who once questioned her every move are now demonstrating her leadership, work ethic, and impact. And some of them are starting to give her genuine credit, proving that she is not only good, but also changing the game. The fact that 3 million people watched the exhibition game on television wasn't just because of the sold-out venue or the attendance. It was also because of the context and comparison. That number not only led the WNBA preseason, but also attracted more viewers than games from other professional leagues. Everyone in Iowa City is excited to see Caitlin Clark, the state's favorite daughter, return home more than once. Even though only the people watching at home knew she was being watched, Caitlin didn't back down from the attention. On the contrary, she thrived on it, from beyond the logo with everyone watching her. She ran up court and made a three-pointer from behind the exact spot where she broke the NCAA scoring record. It wasn't just a shot, it was a statement. And the fans went crazy because this was no longer just about basketball. It was about entertainment, storytelling theater, and a full-circle moment executed with perfect timing. Caitlin knew exactly where she was, what it meant, and how to deliver a moment the audience would never forget. I think one of the things I love most about Caitlin is it appears to require confidence and readiness to do what she knows everyone wants. Like meeting the moment and doing what she knows everyone wants. Like breaking the record, even if she has a certain star quality and star power. I thought it was great when she said, "Oh, no, I know what you want. Come here. I'm going to give it to you." I love it when athletes say things like, "Bring the cameras right over here." It's a lot of fun. And she understands how to give fans what they want. Even the national team, couldn't help themselves after the exhibition game. Instead of just shaking hands and leaving the court, they gathered around Caitlin, taking selfies, laughing, and smiling as though they had just met Michael Jordan. They saw that she was having her freaking Michael Jordan moment right then and there. And the sold-out crowd was the one. 3-dot perception is often louder than evidence in our world of sound bites and snapshots. But now the visual matched reality. It was different this time. The illusion broke the illusion that everyone already knew the numbers, the broadcast schedule, the arena upgrades, the merch sales. And the media buzz? To put that into perspective, just between us, no NBA preseason game has drawn that many viewers in the previous 7 years. Only 2 NBA preseason games have done so in the previous 15 years. This preseason game attracts more viewers than Game 1 of the NBA Championship, which was broadcast on ESPN1. The Yankees vs. Phillies game, which attracted 912,000 fans 20 years ago, was the most closely contested MLB spring training game in the WNBA Finals last year. 1. The game changed the MVP favorite because 3 million people saw Caitlin Clark. Should she win? I think so. When you talk about Caitlin Clark, she averaged 19 points and 8 assists. And I love that, you're right, SA. Balance. But it's never about one player. She finished the season with 19 points and 8 assists. But she had an even better finish after the All-Star break, averaging 12 assists during that time. And now that she has more teammates to pass the ball to and more pieces around her, she also had a full offseason. Adam and I often talk about how Caitlin Clark is the most famous athlete in America and that media analysts are suddenly much more supportive of her than they were just a few weeks ago because of what happened during the preseason, which led to sellouts. In this case, Caitlin brought tens of millions of new viewers to the W, and there's no doubting that impact. Not just in the WNBA, but the sports world as a whole. When it all comes together, Caitlin Clark wasn't just riding the wave of fame. She brought to every building. The ratings and the gravity she brought to every building were no longer up for debate. For instance, this season, people are trying to make amends after being kind of weird the first year. The story is already sort of waiting for her to produce so that they can start the offs. I always wake up the next morning with no excuses, no skipping, and no burnout. Caitlin was outworking everyone while most players eased into the off-season. She was balancing speaking engagements, high-profile appearances, NFL owner meetings, the Masters, and still making it to the gym before 8 a.m. Not only is that discipline, but it's also iconic conduct straight out of Kobe Bryant's playbook, whatever you want to call it. Caitlin Clark has what is called Mamba mentality or Mama mentality. She is bigger, stronger, and ready to dominate. Her body is built for the pro grind. She makes better decisions, and her confidence under the spotlight has only grown. She isn't just acclimating to the WNBA. Some haters are actively working to stop her. This is what it really comes down to, and it affects each player differently. Some players express frustration, while others remain silent, and some, like Sophie Cunningham, have accepted it from the beginning. But regardless of how it looks, the time has come, and the evidence is everywhere. Some players advance the plot by complimenting Caitlin, while others accept the reality by remaining silent, and then asking the grief of not being the star. That Iowa preseason game was more than just hype. It was the return of the Caitlin Clark effect, and it will have greater significance than ever. Please leave a trophy. If you are still here, the comments for reading the entire thing. We appreciate you watching.